Let's start with a question: when was the last time you truly felt something? Not just glanced over it or brushed it off, but really sat with it. You see, we live in a world that often asks us to mask our emotions, to rush past discomfort, to chase success without pausing to ask what success truly feels like. But here's the thing: if we don't allow ourselves to feel, we can't believe. And if we can't believe, we can never become. Feel it. That's the first step. Feeling isn't just about the highs, the joy, the excitement, the pride. It's also about the lows, the fear, the vulnerability, the doubt. We are taught to avoid those feelings, to armor up. But every time we shield ourselves from pain, we also dull our capacity for joy. To feel is to live courageously. It's about giving ourselves permission to be human. Once you feel it, you start to believe it. And belief is a tender, transformative thing. It doesn't come from external validation, it's born from within. Belief says, I am enough as I am, even as I grow. It says, I can fail and still be worthy. It's not about perfection. It's about embracing imperfection and still daring to say, this dream, this vision, this goal, I'm worthy of it. But belief alone doesn't get us to where we want to go. That's where becoming comes in. To become is to take what you feel and what you believe and turn it into action. It's messy and uncomfortable. It demands bravery. It requires showing up even when the outcome is uncertain. Becoming isn't about the destination, it's about the process, the growth, the small, everyday acts of courage that add up to transformation. We live in a fast-paced world where emotions are often seen as inconveniences rather than powerful tools for connection and growth. Society tends to reward productivity over presence, action over introspection, and results over reflection. But beneath all the noise, there is a deep truth. To live a full and meaningful life, you must allow yourself to truly feel. From an early age, many of us are conditioned to suppress our emotions. We hear phrases like, don't cry, be strong, or keep going. While these intentions might aim to protect us, they unintentionally teach us that emotions are something to be controlled, hidden, or avoided. Yet the truth is, our emotions are not a burden, they are a compass. They guide us toward what matters most, illuminating our values, needs, and desires. To feel is to be alive. Imagine a life where every emotion is silenced, a life without the thrill of joy, the comfort of love, or even the sting of sadness. Without emotions, we lose our humanity. Emotions are what connect us to others, and they are what connect us to ourselves. When we embrace the full spectrum of our feelings, we open the door to authenticity. It's tempting to seek out only the good feelings, happiness, excitement, pride, while rejecting the bad ones like fear, sadness, or anger. But here's the paradox: when we block out uncomfortable emotions, we also dull our ability to experience joy. Emotions are not isolated, they are interconnected. Numbing one part of your emotional experience inevitably numbs the others. For example, think about grief. It's one of the most painful emotions we can feel, yet it exists because we've experienced love. You can't have one without the other. Grief is love's echo. It reminds us that we care deeply. By allowing ourselves to feel the sadness of loss, we honor the significance of what we had. To feel deeply is to risk vulnerability. It means admitting that we are human, that we are not invincible, and that life can hurt us. But vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is a testament to our strength. When we open ourselves to our emotions, we also open ourselves to growth, connection, and healing. Consider this: when you avoid feelings like disappointment or fear, you might think you're protecting yourself. But in reality, you're creating a barrier between yourself and the world. You're shutting out opportunities for deeper understanding, both of yourself and others. It takes courage to face your emotions head on, to sit with them, and to ask, what is this feeling trying to teach me? Every emotion carries a message. Anger might point to an injustice you need to address. Anxiety might signal that you're stepping out of your comfort zone into uncharted territory. Even feelings like envy can reveal your hidden desires or unmet goals. Instead of dismissing your emotions, try leaning into them. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion telling me about what I value? By treating your emotions as allies rather than adversaries, you unlock a wellspring of self-awareness. You begin to understand your triggers, your patterns, and your needs. This understanding is the foundation of personal growth and authentic living. Allowing yourself to feel doesn't mean judging yourself for your emotions. Too often, we attach labels to our feelings. I shouldn't feel this way. Or, why can't I just be happy? These judgments only compound the pain. Instead, practice self-compassion. Recognize that your emotions are valid, that they are part of the human experience, and that it's okay to not be okay all the time. Think of how you would comfort a friend who is struggling. You wouldn't tell them to just get over it or to stop feeling that way. You'd offer empathy, understanding, and patience. Extend that same kindness to yourself. When you allow yourself to feel, you not only transform your own life, you also impact those around you. Emotional authenticity is contagious. When you show up fully as yourself, you create a safe space for others to do the same. You model vulnerability, and in doing so, you deepen your connections and foster trust. Consider the difference between a surface-level conversation and one where both people are open about their feelings. The former might be pleasant, but it's the latter that leaves a lasting impression. It's in those moments of shared emotion, whether joy, sadness, or even uncertainty, that true connection happens. Take moments throughout your day to check in with yourself. What are you feeling right now? Name the emotion and notice where it's showing up in your body. Writing can be a powerful way to process your feelings. It allows you to explore them without judgment and to uncover patterns or insights. Mindfulness helps you stay present with your emotions rather than getting swept away by them. By observing your feelings without trying to change them, you can respond rather than react. Share your feelings with someone you trust. Speaking your emotions out loud can bring clarity and relief, and it reminds you that you're not alone. When you fully embrace the power of feeling, you begin to live more authentically. You stop running from discomfort and start leaning into it. You realize that every emotion, no matter how challenging, has something to offer. And in the process, you grow stronger, more self-aware, and more connected to the world around you. Feeling is not just about experiencing life, it's about engaging with it wholeheartedly. It's about showing up as your true self in all your complexity and allowing yourself to be seen. Because when you feel, you begin to believe, and when you believe, you become. Vulnerability is a concept we often misunderstand. Many of us equate it with weakness, a crack in our armor that we believe the world might exploit. But in reality, vulnerability is the birthplace of courage, creativity, and connection. It is through our willingness to embrace vulnerability that we truly open ourselves up to the richness of life. When we shield ourselves from pain, disappointment, or failure, we may think we're protecting ourselves. We build walls, create distance, and develop defenses to ensure we won't get hurt. But here's the paradox: those same walls that keep pain out also keep joy, love, and fulfillment at bay. Imagine you're holding a glass of water, and it represents your capacity to feel. If you pour out all the pain and struggle, thinking it will leave only happiness behind, what you're left with is an empty glass. You can't selectively numb emotions. When you suppress the hard feelings, fear, sadness, shame, or vulnerability, you inadvertently suppress the good ones too: happiness, connection, and gratitude. To truly embrace vulnerability means to show up fully in your life, to risk being seen, even when the outcome is uncertain. It's about saying, I'm here with my whole self, flaws, and all this is incredibly hard because it requires us to confront our fears. What if we're rejected? What if we fail? What if we're not enough? These are the questions that hold us back. But the truth is that the more we resist vulnerability, the more we find ourselves isolated. Vulnerability is the key to connection. Think about the most meaningful relationships in your life. They're not built on perfection or invulnerability. They're built on trust, honesty, and the shared understanding that both of you are human. Let's explore what shielding yourself from pain looks like in real life. Perfectionism is a form of armor. We convince ourselves that if we just get it right, if we're perfect, then we won't have to face criticism or failure. But perfectionism isn't about striving for excellence, it's about avoiding shame. It's a defense mechanism that keeps us from fully engaging in our lives because we're too busy trying to control the uncontrollable. Many of us turn to distractions, social media, work, food, or even substances to avoid feeling uncomfortable emotions. These coping mechanisms might provide temporary relief, but they disconnect us from the full spectrum of human experience. When we avoid taking risks because we fear failure, we also miss out on opportunities for growth and joy. Whether it's pursuing a dream, starting a relationship, or expressing our true selves, avoiding risk means staying stuck in a comfort zone that ultimately limits us. So how do we begin to embrace vulnerability? The first step is to name and accept your emotions. Instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this way, try saying, I feel scared or I feel disappointed. Giving your feelings a name takes away some of their power and allows you to process them. Growth happens in the discomfort zone. This doesn't mean recklessly throwing yourself into risky situations, but rather allowing yourself to take small, courageous steps that challenge your need for control or certainty. Being vulnerable often means confronting your imperfections. Instead of criticizing yourself, offer kindness and understanding. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook, it's about recognizing that struggle is a part of the shared human experience. Vulnerability thrives in safe, supportive environments. Share your thoughts and feelings with people who have earned your trust. This creates deeper connections and reminds you that you're not alone. When you begin to embrace vulnerability, you'll notice something profound. The moments when you allow yourself to be seen, when you admit you don't have all the answers, when you take a chance on something you care about, are often the moments that bring the greatest rewards. Vulnerability is a risk, yes, but it's also the only way to experience the full depth of life. Shielding yourself from pain might feel safe in the short term, but it comes at the cost of joy, meaning, and connection. To live wholeheartedly, you must be willing to open yourself up, to step into uncertainty, and to embrace the beautiful, messy, and unpredictable journey of being human. Belief is a powerful, transformative force, but its origins are often misunderstood. Many of us grow up equating belief in ourselves with external achievements, accolades, or the approval of others. We learn to see our worth through the lens of grades, promotions, applause, or the validation of those around us. This external scaffolding can feel supportive in the short term, but over time, it becomes shaky, even hollow. Why? Because true belief cannot be outsourced. It doesn't live in the hands of others, it must come from within. At its core, belief is about self-acceptance. It's the quiet yet unshakable understanding that you are enough, not because of what you do, how you look, or what you achieve, but simply because you are. This kind of belief isn't easy to cultivate in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough. Advertisements bombard us with messages that we need to be thinner, richer, or more successful. Social media often amplifies comparison, showing us curated highlight reels of other people's lives. In this environment, belief in ourselves can feel like an uphill battle. But here's the truth: belief is an act of rebellion. It's choosing to silence the noise of the outside world and tune into the voice within. This voice isn't loud or flashy. In fact, it's often a whisper. It might say, I am worthy of love, even when I make mistakes, or I am still deserving of joy. Even if I didn't check off every item on my to-do list today, these whispers of belief remind us that our worth isn't conditional, it's intrinsic. Cultivating this inner belief starts with vulnerability. We must first confront the parts of ourselves that we've hidden or judged. Maybe it's the fear of not being good enough. Maybe it's the shame of a past mistake. Whatever it is, we can't build belief on a foundation of avoidance. We have to face these feelings, hold space for them, and remind ourselves that we are still whole. This process is tender and uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. Belief isn't about being perfect. Perfection is a myth that often disguises itself as a prerequisite for worthiness. It tells us once you lose the weight, then you'll be confident, or once you get that promotion, then you'll believe in yourself. But the truth is, perfection is unattainable, and chasing it only leads to exhaustion and self-doubt. Instead, belief invites us to embrace imperfection. It says you are enough now as you are, even as you strive to grow. One of the most profound shifts that comes with cultivating inner belief is moving from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. When we don't believe in ourselves, we operate from a place of not enough. There's not enough time, not enough talent, not enough opportunity. But when we anchor ourselves in the belief that we are enough, we begin to see the world differently. We notice possibilities where we once saw obstacles. We take risks because we know our worth isn't tied to the outcome. It's also important to recognize that belief isn't static. It's not something you achieve once and then keep forever. Life will test your belief through failures, rejections, and moments of self-doubt. There will be days when that inner voice feels faint or even silent. On those days, it's crucial to have practices that help you reconnect with yourself. Maybe it's journaling about what you're grateful for. Maybe it's surrounding yourself with people who remind you of your worth. Maybe it's simply sitting in stillness and remembering that you've survived every hard day so far. Belief is also deeply intertwined with self-compassion. When we believe in ourselves, we're kinder to ourselves. We stop beating ourselves up for every misstep or perceived flaw. Instead, we treat ourselves the way we would a dear friend, with understanding, patience, and encouragement. This doesn't mean we ignore our mistakes or avoid accountability. It means we approach ourselves with grace, knowing that growth is a process, not a straight line. One of the most beautiful aspects of cultivating belief is the ripple effect it has on others. When you believe in yourself, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what it means to embrace imperfection and still show up with courage. Your belief creates a space where others feel safe to be authentic, to take risks, and to dream boldly. In this way, belief isn't just a personal act, it's a gift to the world. In the end, belief is about coming home to yourself. It's about peeling back the layers of conditioning and expectation to rediscover the truth that has always been there. You are worthy. You are enough. And from that place of self-acceptance, you can step into the fullness of who you are meant to become. In a world that often prizes productivity and perfection, the connection between feeling and believing is both revolutionary and deeply human. To understand this connection, we need to unravel the layers of what it means to truly feel and how that shapes our ability to believe in ourselves and our potential. At its core, feeling is not just an emotional reaction, it's an invitation to connect with our inner selves. It's the moment we allow ourselves to experience life fully, whether that means joy, sadness, fear, or excitement. When we suppress or dismiss our emotions, we aren't just numbing the uncomfortable ones, we're also limiting our ability to experience the richness of life. Feeling deeply is an act of self-awareness, and without it, belief lacks authenticity. For example, think about a time when you pushed through a difficult situation without acknowledging how you truly felt. Perhaps you told yourself to keep going or stay strong, dismissing the fear or frustration bubbling beneath the surface. In doing so, you may have achieved the immediate goal, but you likely didn't feel aligned with your deeper sense of purpose. Feeling isn't about weakness or indulgence, it's about understanding the emotional signals that guide us toward what matters most. Feeling often requires vulnerability, and vulnerability can be terrifying. It's that moment when we risk being seen as imperfect or admit to ourselves that we are scared, uncertain, or even lost. But vulnerability is also where belief begins. When we open ourselves to feel the full spectrum of emotions, we start to recognize the truth of who we are. It's in those raw, unguarded moments when we allow ourselves to feel deeply that we uncover our values, our dreams, and our worth. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a bridge to belief. It says, even in this moment of doubt, I am still worthy of hope, of love, and of possibility. Belief is often misunderstood as something external, a reward we earn when we achieve enough or are validated by others. But true belief comes from within, and it's rooted in our willingness to feel. When we let ourselves experience our emotions without judgment, we start to trust our inner voice. For instance, feeling fear doesn't mean you're incapable, it means you're stepping into the unknown. Feeling joy doesn't mean you're naive, it means you're open to the beauty of the present moment. These emotions, when acknowledged, build a foundation for belief by reinforcing the idea that you are capable of navigating life's complexities. The connection between feeling and believing is most evident in moments of discomfort. It's easy to believe in ourselves when things are going well, but true belief is forged in the fire of challenge. When we face adversity, our emotions can feel overwhelming. Yet it's in these moments that feeling becomes a tool for growth. Allowing yourself to feel disappointment, frustration, or even failure doesn't mean you're dwelling on negativity. It means you're processing the experience in a way that prepares you to move forward with greater clarity and strength. This emotional honesty paves the way for a deeper, more resilient belief in your ability to overcome obstacles. One of the biggest barriers to connecting feeling with belief is the tendency to numb our emotions. We live in a culture that often encourages avoidance, whether through busyness, distractions, or even perfectionism. But numbing isn't selective. When we block out pain, we also block out joy, hope, and connection. By choosing to feel, we open ourselves to the full spectrum of life. And with that openness comes the ability to believe in something greater, whether it's a dream, a relationship, or simply ourselves. Feeling is the practice of being present, and presence is what allows belief to take root. The path from feeling to believing is not linear. There will be times when self-doubt creeps in, when the emotions feel too big to handle, or when the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels insurmountable. But belief isn't about perfection, it's about progress. When you allow yourself to feel even the messy, imperfect emotions, you're reminding yourself that you are human. And it's that humanity, with all its flaws and strengths, that forms the foundation of belief. Belief doesn't require you to have all the answers. It only asks that you show up again and again with a willingness to feel and to grow. The connection between feeling and believing is transformative because it shifts the way we approach ourselves and our goals. Instead of striving for external markers of success, we begin to anchor our belief in the truth of our own experiences. Feeling becomes the compass that guides us, and belief becomes the fuel that propels us forward. When we embrace this connection, we start to see ourselves not as people chasing a finish line, but as individuals worthy of the journey itself. We recognize that every emotion, whether joyful or painful, is a stepping stone toward deeper self-awareness and growth. In the end, the relationship between feeling and believing is a partnership. Feeling invites us to be honest with ourselves, and belief encourages us to trust that honesty. Together, they create a foundation for transformation, resilience, and an unwavering sense of self-worth. Transformation is not a passive process. It's not something that simply happens to us while we wait or wish for change. To become the person we aspire to be, we must actively step into that process, taking what we feel and believe and channeling it into intentional action. This is where the real work begins, where courage, resilience, and persistence meet uncertainty, discomfort, and growth. Becoming through action is not about having all the answers. In fact, it often starts in a place of uncertainty. We don't become who we want to be by waiting for the perfect conditions or until we feel completely ready. Readiness is often a myth. Instead, becoming requires us to take the first step, no matter how small or shaky it may feel. It's in these steps, imperfect, unpolished, and often riddled with doubt, that transformation begins to take shape. Action is inherently vulnerable. It exposes us to the possibility of failure, rejection, and criticism. But it is also the birthplace of growth, connection, and change. We are telling ourselves in the world that we are willing to try, to learn, and to persist. Each action, no matter how seemingly insignificant, contributes to the larger picture of becoming. Let's not forget that action often feels uncomfortable. Growth is rarely a smooth process. It's messy and full of challenges. There are days when doubt will whisper in your ear, questioning your worth and your abilities. But it's precisely in those moments that taking action becomes an act of courage. It's choosing to show up even when the outcome is uncertain, even when fear tells you to step back. This is where resilience is born, not in avoiding discomfort, but in navigating through it. One of the most transformative aspects of taking action is the way it reshapes our beliefs about ourselves. Every step we take reinforces a new narrative. I am capable. I am resourceful. I can grow through this. Action doesn't just move us forward, it rewires how we see ourselves. It builds confidence, one experience at a time. Even when we stumble or fail, the very act of trying teaches us something valuable about our strength and adaptability. It's also important to recognize that becoming is not a solitary journey. Our actions often ripple outward, connecting us to others in meaningful ways. When we dare to act, we inspire others to do the same. Whether it's pursuing a dream, standing up for what we believe in, or simply choosing kindness in the face of adversity, our actions have the power to create change beyond ourselves. Transformation isn't just personal, it's communal. Another key element of becoming through action is patience. True transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of consistent, intentional effort over time. It's easy to get discouraged when we don't see immediate results, but real change requires us to trust the process. Every small, deliberate action we take builds on the one before it, creating momentum that propels us forward. Action is also about adaptability. As we take steps toward becoming, we learn more about ourselves and our path. Sometimes the journey reveals unexpected detours or opportunities. These moments invite us to recalibrate, to adjust our course without losing sight of our greater vision. Becoming is not about rigidly sticking to a predetermined plan. It's about staying open to the lessons and possibilities that unfold along the way. Finally, becoming through action is a deeply personal and unique experience. There is no one-size-fits-all formula. What works for one person might not work for another, and that's okay. The important thing is to honor your own pace and process. Trust that your actions, no matter how small they may seem, are meaningful and impactful. In the end, becoming is not about reaching a final destination. It's about the journey, the growth, and the courage to keep moving forward. It's about showing up for yourself and for your dreams, even when the path is unclear. Through action, we transform not only our lives, but also the way we see ourselves and the world around us. So take the first step, then the next, and the next. Every action, every choice, every moment of courage adds up to something extraordinary, the unfolding of your most authentic self. Growth is not a linear path, it's a winding road full of detours, steep climbs, and moments of stillness. Often we get caught up in the idea of a final destination, a place where we'll have everything figured out, where the work is done, and where we finally feel we've arrived. But the truth is, growth is not a fixed endpoint. It's a continual, evolving process that requires us to embrace the journey with curiosity, resilience, and courage. At its core, growth is about transformation, becoming a fuller, more authentic version of yourself. But transformation isn't neat or predictable. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often slow. There will be moments when progress feels invisible, where the small steps you've taken seem inconsequential. Yet, it's in these seemingly insignificant moments that the seeds of change are planted. In our fast-paced world, we're conditioned to expect instant results. We want to achieve goals quickly and move on to the next big thing. But growth doesn't operate on a timeline or schedule. It demands patience, a willingness to stay present in the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Think about a tree. You plant a seed, water it, and care for it. But for a long time, all the growth happens beneath the surface. Roots form, stretch, and strengthen, unseen to the eye. Only after this foundation is established does the tree begin to emerge and grow upward. Human growth is much the same. The real work often happens in the unseen moments, in the quiet perseverance, in the decisions we make when no one is watching. One of the most transformative aspects of growth is learning to embrace failure. Too often, failure is viewed as a stopping point, a sign that we're not good enough or that we should give up. But failure is not the opposite of growth, it's a vital part of it. When we fail, we're presented with an opportunity to reflect, reassess, and recalibrate. Each misstep teaches us something new about ourselves, our boundaries, and our capacity for resilience. Failure shows us where we need to pivot, where we need to try again, and where we need to try again, and where we need to let go. Growth happens when we allow ourselves to see failure not as an end, but as a beginning, a chance to learn and move forward with greater wisdom. Growth doesn't always require grand, sweeping changes. More often than not, it's the small, consistent acts of courage that shape who we are. Everyday bravery means showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. It's having difficult conversations, setting boundaries, pursuing a passion, or taking a single step toward a goal that scares you. Each time you choose courage over comfort, you expand your capacity for growth. These small acts accumulate over time, creating a foundation of resilience and strength. They remind you that transformation isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The journey of growth is also a journey of self-discovery. As you move through life, you'll encounter new challenges, experiences, and opportunities that reveal different facets of who you are. Growth invites you to peel back the layers of societal expectations, self-doubt, and fear, so you can uncover your truest self. This process requires deep introspection and honesty. It means asking yourself tough questions. What do I value? What brings me joy? What fears are holding me back? The answers to these questions may change over time, but each discovery adds depth and richness to your journey. In the pursuit of growth, it's easy to focus on what's still ahead rather than celebrating how far you've come. But acknowledging your progress, no matter how small, is essential. Each step forward, each lesson learned, and each moment of courage deserves to be recognized. Celebrating progress doesn't mean you've reached the finish line. It means you're honoring the effort it takes to keep moving forward. This practice fosters gratitude and keeps you motivated to continue growing. Ultimately, growth is not something you complete. It's a lifelong journey that evolves with you. There will be times when growth feels exhilarating, when you're thriving and everything seems to align. And there will be times when growth feels like a struggle, when you're questioning everything and progress feels out of reach. Both experiences are valid and valuable. Growth is not about staying in a constant state of forward momentum. It's about learning to navigate the ebbs and flows of life with grace and resilience. It's about trusting that every experience, whether joyful or painful, is shaping you in meaningful ways. To embrace growth as a process is to honor the journey itself. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. It's about choosing courage over fear, patience over impatience, and progress over perfection. Growth is not something you achieve, it's something you live. It's a testament to your willingness to feel, believe, and ultimately become.